Kambwili exposes UPND, Bemba chiefs disrespected. Kasama protest vote incoming? In Northern Province, respect for tradition is not optional, it is sacred. Now, former Minister Chishimba Kambwili is accusing the ruling UPND of crossing a dangerous line, disrespecting Bemba royalty. His response? A direct call to voters in Kasama to send a message through the ballot box to is this political strategy, or a cultural flashpoint with serious consequences. Good day viewers. Welcome to another edition of InspirAfrica Official. I'm Nakash. Well, what a week it's been across the political landscape of Zambia. The temperatures are rising, and I'm not just talking about the weather. But before we get into all of that, I want to dive straight into our lead story today, one that has sent shockwaves through Northern Province and beyond. Picture this: the halls of power in Lusaka, once filled with promises of unity and inclusivity, now echo with accusations of betrayal. The very chiefs who stood as custodians of tradition, as pillars of the Bemba-speaking people, allegedly cast aside like pawns in a political chess game. What happens when a government elected on the wings of hope is accused of disrespecting the very cultural institutions it swore to honor? What happens when a former ally, someone who once walked the corridors of power alongside the ruling elite, steps forward to tear down the veil of silence? Chishimba Kambwili, the firebrand politician known for pulling no punches, has emerged from the shadows with allegations so damning, they threaten to ignite a political firestorm in Kasama and across the Northern Province. Disrespect, marginalization, broken promises. These are not mere whispers in the wind. These are charges leveled directly at the UPND government, a government that allegedly forgot the chiefs who blessed their campaigns, who opened their palaces, who delivered their people to the ballot box. But here's where it gets truly explosive. Could this disrespect trigger a seismic shift in voting patterns? Could Kasama, a stronghold that once leaned toward the ruling party, now be plotting a political rebellion? And if the chiefs have indeed been sidelined, what does this mean for the UPND's grip on power in a region where cultural authority and political loyalty are deeply, irrevocably intertwined? What happens when tradition collides with modern politics, and the descendants of the great Bemba Empire decide they've had enough? Picture this: the halls of power in Lusaka, once filled with promises of unity and inclusivity, now echo with accusations of betrayal. The very chiefs who stood as custodians of tradition, as pillars of the Bemba-speaking people, allegedly cast aside like pawns in a political chess game. What happens when a government elected on the wings of hope is accused of disrespecting the very cultural institutions it swore to honor? What happens when a former ally, someone who once walked the corridors of power alongside the ruling elite, steps forward to tear down the veil of silence? Chishimba Kambwili, the firebrand politician known for pulling no punches, has emerged from the shadows with allegations so damning, they threaten to ignite a political firestorm in Kasama and across the Northern Province. Disrespect, marginalization, broken promises. These are not mere whispers in the wind. These are charges leveled directly at the UPND government, a government that allegedly forgot the chiefs who blessed their campaigns, who opened their palaces, who delivered their people to the ballot box. But here's where it gets truly explosive. Could this disrespect trigger a seismic shift in voting patterns? Could Kasama, a stronghold that once leaned toward the ruling party, now be plotting a political rebellion? And if the chiefs have indeed been sidelined, what does this mean for the UPND's grip on power in a region where cultural authority and political loyalty are deeply, irrevocably intertwined? What happens when tradition collides with modern politics, and the descendants of the great Bemba Empire decide they've had enough? Part 2: Factual Foundation, Background and Timeline. The revelation came to light during a fiery public address in Kasama, Northern Province, where Chishimba Kambwili, former Minister of Information and Broadcasting, and now a prominent opposition voice, addressed a gathering of supporters, traditional leaders, and concerned citizens. The setting was deliberate. Kasama, the provincial capital of Northern Province, sits at the heart of Bemba-speaking Zambia, a region with deep cultural roots stretching back to the legendary Chitamukulu dynasty. For generations, the chiefs of this region have wielded not just ceremonial authority, but real political influence, guiding their subjects on matters of governance, development, and yes, voting. According to Kambwili's account, the initial suspicions began surfacing shortly after the UPND's 2021 electoral victory. Insiders and traditional leaders reportedly started comparing notes. Invitations to State House were fewer. Development projects promised to chiefdoms were delayed or redirected. Audiences with the president, once routine for senior chiefs, became increasingly rare. By mid-2024, these concerns had crystallized into open grievances. Several chiefs from Northern Province, speaking on condition of anonymity to local journalists, confirmed they felt forgotten by the government they had supported. One senior traditional leader was quoted in a regional newspaper saying, "We were partners during the campaign, but now we are treated like mere subjects." Then, in early 2025, the situation escalated. A planned visit by government officials to Kasama was abruptly cancelled without adequate explanation to the traditional leadership. Development funds allocated for road construction in chiefdoms were reportedly reallocated to other regions. And crucially, when a delegation of Bemba chiefs traveled to Lusaka to seek audience with President Hichilema, they were, according to Kambwili's sources, made to wait for days before being granted a brief, perfunctory meeting. It was against this backdrop that Kambwili stepped forward. Armed with testimonies from traditional leaders, documented correspondence, and his own insider knowledge of UPND operations, he decided to go public with what he called a pattern of systematic marginalization and cultural disrespect. Direct evidence, quotes and testimony. Now, let's hear from the man himself. During his address in Kasama, Kambwili didn't hold back. Here's what he said. Chishimba Kambwili, my fellow Zambians, people of Northern Province, I stand before you today not as a politician seeking votes, but as a son of this soil who cannot remain silent when our traditions are being trampled upon. The UPND government, the government we helped to install, has turned its back on the very chiefs who opened their palaces during campaigns. They came here, they knelt before our traditional leaders, they promised development, they promised respect. But what have we seen? What have we seen? Pause for effect. Let me be very clear. I have spoken to Senior Chief Mwamba. I have spoken to Chief Nkula. I have documentation in letters, invitations that were ignored, meetings that were cancelled. These are not fabrications. When the president visits Northern Province now, it's a photo opportunity. There's no real consultation. There's no genuine engagement with the custodians of our culture. A member of the audience reportedly shouted, "Tell them, Ba Kambwili." Kambwili continued, "And you know what hurts the most? It's the lie. The lie that development is coming. Where is the Kasama-Lawinga road they promised? Where are the jobs for our young people? The UPND used our chiefs like ladders to climb into power, and now they've kicked those ladders away. This is not just political, this is cultural disrespect of the highest order." According to transcripts obtained from local media, Kambwili then directly quoted a traditional leader. Kambwili, quoting a chief, "One of our senior chiefs told me, and I quote him verbatim, he said, Ba Kambwili, during the PF time, we had disagreements, yes, but at least we were consulted. At least our voices mattered. Now, we send letters, they go unanswered. We travel to Lusaka, we wait like common villagers. This government has shown us that our crowns mean nothing to them." The crowd reportedly erupted in applause and ululation. When pressed by a journalist about specific incidents, Kambwili provided further details. Journalist, can you give us a specific example of this disrespect you're talking about? Kambwili, absolutely. In September last year, the Ministry of Local Government was supposed to channel funds through the chiefs for a sanitation project in 3 chiefdoms. The money was redirected. No explanation. No apology. The chiefs found out through the radio. Through the radio. Can you imagine the humiliation? Journalist, what do you think the chiefs will do in response? Kambwili, well, I'm not here to tell chiefs what to do. But I can tell you this, the Bemba people remember. We remember who respects us and who insults us. And come 2026, if this government thinks Northern Province will just automatically vote for them, they're in for a very rude awakening. Deeper analysis, implications and reactions. So, what are we really looking at here? This isn't just about hurt feelings or protocol breaches. This cuts to the very heart of Zambian politics, the delicate, often unspoken alliance between traditional authority and modern democratic governance. Historically, Northern Province has been a political battleground. The region's voting patterns have swung between parties depending on economic promises, ethnic considerations, and yes, the council of traditional leaders. The chiefs don't just command ceremonial respect, they influence which way entire communities vote. Political analyst Dr. Muzanda Kalufia, speaking to local media shortly after Kambwili's address, offered this perspective. Dr. Kalufia, what Kambwili is tapping into is a genuine sense of alienation. Whether every single allegation is accurate or not, the perception of marginalization is politically real. And in politics, perception is often more powerful than reality. The UPND government, for its part, has vehemently denied these accusations. Minister of Information and Media Chushur Kasanda issued a statement describing Kambwili's claims as baseless propaganda designed to sow division. Kasanda's statement read, "The UPND government respects all traditional institutions across Zambia. We have engaged chiefs from every province, including Northern Province, in numerous development initiatives. Mr. Kambwili is a known political opportunist who will say anything to remain relevant. But here's where it gets complicated. Opposition parties, including the Patriotic Front, PF, have seized on Kambwili's allegations. PF Secretary General Raphael Nakasinda released his own statement supporting Kambwili's claims. Nakasinda: "We warned the people of Zambia that the UPND's promises were hollow. Now, even the chiefs, the guardians of our heritage, are being disrespected. This is what happens when a government cares more about international investors than its own people." Legal questions have also emerged. Under Zambian law, traditional leaders are supposed to remain politically neutral. But what happens when they feel their cultural authority is being undermined by elected officials? Do they have a right, even a duty, to speak out? Constitutional lawyer Makibi Zulu weighed in. Zulu, the Constitution protects the institution of chieftaincy but also expects chiefs to stay above partisan politics. However, if chiefs genuinely feel their statutory roles are being diminished, they have avenues to raise these concerns through the House of Chiefs. The challenge is when politicians weaponize these grievances for electoral gain. The ambiguity here is thick. Are we witnessing genuine cultural disrespect, or is this a calculated political maneuver by Kambwili to position himself as a defender of Bemba heritage? Can both things be true simultaneously? What's undeniable is the broader systemic concern: in a democracy, how should governments engage with traditional authorities? And when that engagement breaks down or is perceived to break down, what are the political consequences? If Kasama and Northern Province do swing against the UPND in 2026, it won't just be about chiefs and protocol. It will be about jobs, roads, clinics, schools, the tangible development that people can see and touch. But make no mistake, cultural disrespect can be the spark that ignites long-simmering frustrations about economic neglect. The question now is whether the UPND will take these allegations seriously and attempt to mend fences, or whether they'll dismiss them as opposition noise. Because in Northern Province, the chiefs are listening. And so are the voters. Well, there you have it, viewers. A story that's still unfolding, with implications that could reshape Zambia's political landscape heading into 2026. Will the UPND government respond substantively to these allegations? Will the chiefs of Northern Province take a more public stance? And most importantly, will Kasama deliver a protest vote that sends shockwaves through the ruling party? We'll be watching closely, and you can be sure we'll bring you updates as this story develops. Thank you so much for watching today's edition of InspirAfrica Official. I really do appreciate each and every one of you who takes the time to engage with our content. If you found this analysis insightful, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and most importantly, drop your thoughts in the comments section below. Do you think Kambwili's allegations hold water? Do you believe traditional leaders should have more influence in modern governance? Let's have a respectful, informed conversation. I'll be back tomorrow with more news, more analysis, and more of the stories that matter to Africa and to Zambia. Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay inspired. This is Nakash, signing off.